Let's go.
Stream is live.
We are live.
Is live.
Perfect timing. Ro just looking off into the sunset there. That was a good angle right there. We should have kept that thing going.
Not his first
I
rodeo.
could do that all day, man.
Well, excited to have the Mayhem crew with us today. We got Rory McKernan, we got Austin Malleolo, OGs in the space. Pretty much anything and everything that could be done and has been done in the CrossFit space. You guys collaboratively have done it.
They
CrossFit
haven't won the games.
It's a bold statement. Yeah, never won the games.
Never won the games.
That is true, but
worn a lot of hats. I think it's fair. We've shared a lot of hats between us.
Yeah, media stuff, seminar staff. We made mention how Austin's in the background of one of Rich's posters on the wall there at Mayhem when he's winning the game. So that kind of counts, right? That's
if you're in the photo.
If you're and Cabo, I think you're in probably one of the photos too, judging Rich on the final event, right?
I was judging him at that event, so I'm in there somewhere. They do a pretty good job of cutting the judges out of the photos, but I know I'm there.
There we go. Basandi said that right there. You got the picture, Ro. You just showed us. We brought up the Roe versus Boz, and there it is. Let's see, mate. Let's make this thing official.
There's the only two that I've got. I've got. This is just one moment of glory.
Oh,
these were sent to me.
Amazing.
I wasn't like, hey, I want to look at this picture of myself every day. And then I got to really. This was the fun. This is when we went into the garage. Remember when we just took over somebody's house?
Yes.
And one of the best ones of all time.
Yeah, was that the one where there was a bit of a miscount though?
Yeah, the infamous. That one's
Carolina. I think it was the Charlotte area.
I love that one because it was a mistake, but my goodness, I obviously devastated. It was just it was the coolest event ever. And then oh hey, by the way, I think we missed a round.
Worst feeling, dude.
I know.
Worst.
When you're doing the touchdown dance afterwards, a great show, great competition, and then somebody's like, hey, I got news for you.
Yeah,
Dan Bailey was crushed.
Yeah, I know. He still talks about it. I mean, it was devastating for everyone involved, but that was the old recount.
Also, the most gangster adaptability thing I've ever seen, where BKG in the middle of his workout was stressed about something. You could tell. He just looked over. He walked over to this dude's wall and just grabbed a belt off of it because he hadn't brought one.
In the garage, the guy
stole one from the house and just kept banging away.
This'll do. I love that. Yeah, that's
I love that
level right there. It's just fine.
I mean, how often does that happen in affiliates, right? Where it's somebody's in there and there's some piece of equipment that they need, some grips or something or a belt, and I see some sitting on the ground, and there's a good chance that there's something in the corner somewhere, and so somebody's going to grab it and make it happen.
Or the other way around, there's double unders and people opt out because they forgot their own rope. They're like, I've got to use my own rope. I can't do a double under without. Yeah.
Guilty.
Yeah, the jump rope
is the worst.
The jump rope aficionados, it's been quite an evolution where back in the day it was if you we just had, do you remember the beaded jump ropes, the training jump ropes for teen classes?
They're elementary school jump ropes.
Yeah, that's all there. And then if you were a baller, you had the Buddy Lee jump ropes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I remember I bought the Buddy Lee jump rope. I was excited. It was it took 7 years to get, right? Because this is pre fast shipping. And of course,
the handle
I did it outside when it was a little cold, and the rope just snapped in half. The first, I think I just cried.
Hit that pavement.
I waited so long, and this jump rope just broke. I thought I was gonna, be the next Buddy Lee, and there I was with a broken jump rope.
Did you guys ever have the experience of taking Buddy Lee's seminar?
No, I never did.
Not in person. No.
I mean, I watched a lot of those videos. I can't imagine what it's like in person.
Oh, it was tremendous. And I get give credit where credit's due. There was a lot of wisdom in it as well. But man, the dude was such a care. Buddy Lee loves Buddy Lee. Nobody loves him more. And he was literally, we did it at HQ. I never forget this. And it was a small group of people that were working at HQ. And literally for his intro, he had his assistant stand and he crouched down behind him for the grand intro. It was
did he run and do some sort of cartwheel jump over him with the jump rope and started doing that? Yes, I've seen that.
No cartwheel. He was a little bit older by that time, having some knee issues or something, but he did pop out and then do his little spinny whatever thing. And it was epic. It was almost like a sitcom or something, you're You for real right now?
He had the pant. He always had the big Zuba pants on too, right?
And the tank top. Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, come on, how could you not like this? You can't write that.
Get right that. Yeah, it was. And watching him, dude, I could watch him for hours. Like I literally seek out clips of just watching. And of course, there's other people who've got crazy jump rope skills now, but I'm like one of those things I will never be able to do, but aspire to.
Yeah, when we think that like double unders or crossovers or double under crossovers are hard, and then we look at that and we're like, all right, we're still there's still some room to grow as far as the jump rope's concerned.
That's a cool comment right there.
Is worth 0 points at the Olympics.
Shout out Jessica Schwab there.
Yeah, they just signed up. Yeah, she's going to be following Mayhem. So, and that's a good lead into actually what we want to talk about. We're not here just to reminisce about the good old days and what we experienced, although that is a fun part of this thing. But we want to talk about what happened just a couple of weeks ago with our first in-person Mayhem event. Mayhem Best Hour, first time we did it. And so would love to hear more. I know we were all there, but Austin, tell us about the event a little bit more.
Oh man, yeah, it was obviously we're all there. I think I think anytime you reflect on these events, I think the ability to get in front of our community in person and spend a couple of days and have a transmission of culture back and forth, it kind of fills the cup back up. I think for all of us, we have spent time on the road doing seminars in front of our community, and there's nothing like it. And I think it's an amazing opportunity and responsibility. And it was, so that in short, it was awesome because of that ability where we had, we had 60 owners in front of us and some coaches there, and just a massive cadre of individuals sort of on the sides and the backgrounds that have been in the community forever, just wanting to share knowledge, wanting to communicate, and like every Q&A session lasted longer just because and people were riffing back and forth, and it kind of brought me back to the old days where it was just people that were really willing to be vulnerable, to listen, to learn, to help each other. Obviously, it was our first one. We wanted to make sure it was a special time, but we also wanted to make sure that we can learn from it and grow and deliver more, because we're going to be delivering these throughout 26 next year. But all in all, and I said this when we opened it, when we announced this, not like maybe 2 months ago now, most people that signed up had no idea what they were signing up for, right? And that's a special group of people that are that trust us, that are willing to kind of lean in and take a risk and put their hand out. So that was a special group of people that were willing to do that, and I think it led to a really exciting weekend and gave us a good framework of what we want to do going forward. And the goal is to just share knowledge, help people get better, and whatever get better meant for them. But I think for us is at the end of it, being really clear of how do we help our owners run a better business? How do we have and how do we help them help their coaches deliver an excellent product on the floor? And how do we make a pathway, a roadmap to having your gym, your business be your living and be something that you can be super proud of, and it can be something that can sustain your lifestyle. And that's not an easy nut to crack by any means. You guys know that really well. And having passion, having purpose, but also having something that you can make a living on and make a living wage. They're not mutually exclusive. In fact, they're very intertwined. And that was really sort of the whole thread throughout the weekend. So yeah, Rory, I don't know if from your perspective, but I was really fired up.
Yeah, and well, it's funny how what Todd said. We're not here just to reminisce, but I'll just speak to it personally really quick. Was what you said, fill your cup, man. My cup was overflowing selfishly to not to pump you guys' tires, but to like have you two in a room as an example. EC was there, to be here at Mayhem where I've made my home, but to be back in an environment where, like you said, we've worn a lot of hats over the years. The favorite one that I've ever worn will always be the coaches, and seminar staff was, close second. Being able to go and be in that environment where, I mean, you guys know because you've dedicated so much of your life to it, but it's an opportunity to be in an environment where people are highly motivated, et cetera. And so to bring them into our house here and to bring these people to them, to just to be in that room with the people, like, of course I'm scribbling notes the entire time, learning, drinking from a fire hose. That was really, really special for me, for us to make Mayhem, hey, this center where we're going to bring these people together. And then the only part to add to what Austin said was, I would think that what kept standing out to me the entire time, and our team continually was talking about it behind the scenes, was the actual participants, like the collective knowledge that they brought, right? So we had people who were brand new to being an affiliate, and we had 16-year affiliates. Is it 16 or 17?
Yeah.
Anyways, 16 year, and a couple of 15-year that raised their hands. And so it was even the between the line stuff, or the conversations that happened naturally and organically, where these guys were discussing similar situations, identifying, wow, I could really resonate with this person. Where I think back in the day, sometimes that happened a little bit more naturally, right? There was a very much like, hey, open doors, I'll pick up my phone and answer you. I gave the example of when I was young managing an affiliate. I reached out to CJ Martin often, and he was technically a competitor, right? Like, we were in the same city, although we were probably 30 minutes apart. And he would just douse me with knowledge, right? Like, hey, here's our systems, here's how we do things. And so to see that interaction was I saw the writing on the wall for what that could be as well, just from really helping these guys network with other people who are of like mind, who are of like situation, who have knowledge to share as well. So it wasn't just us transmitting the knowledge, it was those guys coming together, and multiple participants, as I was speaking to them, before they left. That was part of their takeaway was, man, it sometimes feels like you're isolated on this island. And I met at least like no less than 3 people who I now consider a friend, and who I also can reach out to and share these issues with, brainstorm, trade ideas, et cetera. So that part for me was as valuable as anything else.
Yeah, and I agree. I was just going to say, it became really obvious and apparent during your opening remarks, Austin, the value of them just being in the same room together, just the way that organically kind of went off the topic maybe that was planned to talk about, and they started talking about things, and then before you know it, it's like that we're not really talking about what we had planned on at this moment, but the value that they're getting right now, just leading the conversation with each other. It's like, this is it. This is the thing right now. It was cool to see.
Yeah, it's like we kicked it off, and you had your spill with the opening remarks, and you opened it up for Q&A, and I think everybody expected like questions to you and Rich and Mayhem and CrossFit, and they started asking about affiliate ownership. How do you onboard people? Like, what is your guys' process with this? And instead of us answering any of that stuff, they started answering.
We didn't participate in the Q&A. They ran the Q&A. It was awesome.
Yeah, so that just speaks to your guys' point of how cool it is just to get a bunch of like-minded people in the same room together. Of course, while we were there, you work out a lot when you're at Mayhem. So we had workouts each day, which is always going to be the case. A couple of them, some of the days, which was fun. And then what were the other big sections that we were looking? You kicked off the first lecture, diving in more so on the programming stuff. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so obviously kind of teeing up the weekend, like you said, and I think one of the main purposes of the weekend was just that, of like, how, giving them opportunity and time to connect with each other and have an open forum. And it was really good to see that goal achieved relatively early and carried on throughout the weekend. And then obviously when we think about, well, what from the perspective of the gyms that were in front of us, Mayhem gyms have been following our programming, something we've been doing for obviously a long time. Wanted to, and our big push end of this year, going into next year, we're working on with you guys, is how do we, as we've been articulated, own your programming, and how do you really make that your own, and really teeing up where we're going from the perspective of our next step of offerings for our owners, and just what it means to deliver an excellent product, and starting from an owner, and then what that means from a cultural perspective, what that means from a preparation perspective, then the transmission to your staff, and what they have to do in order to achieve that, and then to the floor, right, to the members. So I wanted to tee that up a little bit, and something we've been spending a lot of time on internally. Darren, who's not on the call right now, because he wanted to be here, but he has a holiday party with his at his school with his kids. So I figured that was, said, yeah, that's important. But we've been leaning in really heavy on, and Melissa, dropped a note here of like, love the updates to the affiliate coaches notes. To be honest with you, it's the genesis of that is that conversation is how do we set our staff up for our team, our coaches, up for success to deliver an excellent product. And we actually really came with some great takeaways of where we're going to evolve next year, just with the challenges our owners are facing for developing their staff. They want to, and the challenges of a larger team, a part-time team, and what can we deliver to make their life easier, right? Because that's really what we're trying to do, is how do we help them? And that teed up you guys to really come in and like roll up the sleeves, as I kind of say it, is like we were able to get at the whiteboard, really talk through how do we take a look at some programming, make the necessary tweaks or changes, or just a basic understanding, right? And I think some of this is just basic rite of passage. And if you don't think about it or talk about it, you don't realize it, right? It's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And I've struggled with this for a long time, which is the notion that I'm like, man, like how important is this? But the reality is, it doesn't. What matters is that you talk about it, to then put it top of mind, to then put the work in, right? And things can be elegantly simple, but unbelievably complex at the same time. And how do you implement them? And you guys spent a great portion of day one digging into that. And I thought, and then all the way to the whiteboard stuff, which I'm biased. I think the whiteboard brief is the most important part of the class, actually. Personally, it's the easily
underrated part, I think.
And it's the easiest one to mess up. Mm-hmm. So when we were prepping for it, talking about that, and I just want to give my personal highlight of the whole weekend with this, which was, I thought this was so cool that you guys did this. And just for everyone listening, I've worked with Kristen and Todd for, I feel like 15 years in different ways. And it was cool in this different capacity of this. We riffed a little bit behind the scenes, but the trust that I have for the team to execute and deliver something that was valuable was just there. So it was cool for me. I didn't know exactly, I saw the prep and notes, but I wasn't, going through with like, with, checking your periods and were you crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Like I knew you were going to deliver a great product. So I didn't really know everything, which was exciting of how you were going to execute that. And at the end, you had everyone prep a whiteboard brief, and then someone, you said, hey, who wants to do this in front of everybody? And it was actually one of the coaches from Mayhem, which was really cool to see. And it was just one of those sort of like moments that you're just proud of our community, where you have 60 people, adults that are professionals, and then you have someone being vulnerable in front of them to deliver something that they just did. Like there was no rehearsing, no practicing. And it was just, and he did a great job. People were complimentary, gave some constructive feedback. He gave himself feedback. And just very rarely as an adult do you have an opportunity to be in a situation like that, to be challenged, to be really uncomfortable, to deliver something, to get feedback from people. And that to me was really just special, because and that's really like, if I were to say, what do we want to continually create? That environment of development, of trust, of vulnerability, because that's how you grow. So I thought you guys did a really great job with that. And that's just my personal sort of favorite moment, because you don't do that unless you create a space where people are willing to be vulnerable, are willing to trust one another. And that was on day one, right? Where like you only have, 8 hours to get to that point where people are willing to step up in front of a group of strangers. So that fired me up.
That's awesome.
I'll just, sorry, Chris, just to give you credit also, is like, because I think this illustrates something important for the audience. You guys didn't necessarily know until, somewhat soon before the seminar, right? Like not that you weren't able to prepare, but I want to get this across to people, is that this, I think that if we're receiving any kind of criticism, it's, man, there's not this clean elevator pitch. Well, the reason for that is because this is intentionally collaborative. Like, obviously the foundation of what we're trying to do, make better gyms, make better people, coaches development, give you guys all the tools that you need, and obviously excellence in programming. Like, it's collaborative with the community that we're trying to serve, right? I believe her name was Kristen, who said that she loves the new coaches notes. Well, in our Facebook group, we're serving a lot of people. Some of them don't love it, right? We're going to have to figure out how to pivot and how to change those. And some of that's platform to platform, because it shows up differently on SugarWOD versus this. It's a complex issue that we're trying to solve, and it's not a one size fits all like that. And that was always my issue with some of the seminars. And I'm talking way back in the day, like 2008, I went to what they call the 5-day turnkey affiliate seminar. And those guys were like, Globo Gym, hey, this is exactly the systems you need to use. And I was in a room with somebody who was from, a bougie part of California and somebody who was from rural Tennessee. And I'm like, this ain't it. Like, this is not how it works. Right. And so I think if ever it seems like we're, not able to, we're getting closer to be able to very succinctly and eloquently like put this into a box, but it will never be finished and not changing, in my opinion. And Austin can either back me up or shut me up here. But there are, when you're serving thousands of affiliates who are in thousands of different situations, like there's always going to be ways that we can do better. And so, I've kind of gone off my thought rails here, but we're just trying to serve a lot of different people. I love to hear like, for example, She Loves the Coach's notes. They still have a long way to go because platform specific and getting that kind of stuff dialed in. But you guys also showed up for this weekend with a general idea of like, hey, we're just going to come and add value. It did add a tremendous amount of value, but even for future iterations of the event, like we're taking all the feedback of which we received much, and we're going to change and we're going to improve and we're going to make it better. So I also love that, because I think if somebody tells you that they have the perfect product that's going to serve your gym specifically, bar none, without ever meeting you, like they're probably full of it, right? I think that we are coming at this with the attitude and determination to like understand that everybody's got different situations. We have the general framework that's going to help them, but some of that's going to have to be personalized, and it's obviously going to have to evolve over time.
Yeah, I think that's 100%. Such a huge point of like, regardless of whatever is created on the outside and delivered to somebody, nothing's going to know, like no workout, no programmer is ever going to know exactly who your athletes are, how much equipment you have, how much space that you have, exactly how you run your business. So you're going to have to take ownership of that and make the tweaks accordingly. And I think that was one of the big takeaways that I enjoyed hearing people talk about after the Own Your Programming discussion that you gave, and then the first breakout that we did where people took a week of programming and tried to cater it to their gym. As they came back and they were like, well, I was afraid to make any sort of adjustments because I just thought we'd be messing it up. It's like, Darren does such a good job, I don't want to mess it up. I don't feel like we're following the program if we change it. And even Darren's like, no, you need to do this. And in fact, I often change the workouts the day of or as we're getting ready to do this stuff. And so I think giving people freedom, and then Rory, to your point of like just letting people know that, hey, we're going to give you some tools, but you got to take it and own it yourself and make sure that fits where you're coming from and what you're working with. So
still with the goal of from the programming side, we're still going to save you tens of hours every single week. Yep. But yeah, there is no product that every single gym, every single time in the exact scenario that's provided is going to work. Like you still are going to have to make tweaks. And by the way, like that also makes you a better coach, owner, et cetera, by, you can't turn off your brain and be a great CrossFit coach or owner.
Yeah. I think a lot about that, right? Because it's funny, like, and even like there's a difference between writing a book and then reading the book. Right. And I think that, and then like both of which, if you do, you can talk about the book, but there's one pathway that maybe is, will take a little less time, but also understanding it, right, is important. And like even yesterday, I thought about, I was like, man, it was morning. I changed the workout. I was like, well, and it made me think of our conversation we're having today, where I think it was the workout for Wednesday, which was double unders and squat cleans. Right. And it was like 75 double unders and then max squat cleans at 155 every 2 minutes. Basically 2 minutes, right? It was great. Well, at 4:30 in the morning, I didn't want to jump rope. I just didn't want to, right? I just, for no reason other than I just chose emotionally not to deal with it. It's like, all right. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to ski, right? It's not perfect, but you know what? I want to move a little bit. My garage is not heated. And a frozen barbell on my trachea also wasn't something that I was really looking forward to, but I wanted to load up. So then I was like, I'm just going to use a sandbag and clean it, squat it. Right.
Cool. Yeah.
But what I went to the coach's notes, right. And I read to make sure, like, and I literally did this in the morning. As I'm warming up to make sure what is the right stimulus. So what I need to figure out, how many cals on the ski did I need to hit for that? What was the intended stimulus of number of cleans? Right. So these are just, and that allows me to tweak and change it. And again, whereas like, I did not want to think about making a workout. It allowed me to tweak it to do what I wanted to achieve and keep somewhat of a similar stimulus. And I think that is a mindset that I had not unlocked. And I was sharing this with the group, over the weekend. I hadn't unlocked that for me personally as an owner for almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And in turn, my staff, I was so rigid with it. And that was the big takeaway, is that, and then it needed to start with me understanding it. And then from there, sharing it with the team. And then to your point of, if our coaches are to deliver a better product on the floor, we do need to understand what we're doing, right? And I think that's what's essential about it. Whether you change nothing or not, that's completely fine. And we know a lot of gyms that don't change anything. That's great. But understanding it is really, really important, so you can answer the questions, so you can speak to things, so you can truly understand what's happening in front of you, and actually add your value as a human being to human being. So it was just funny how yesterday I was walking through that, and that was basically the premise of a lot of what we covered specifically on day one. And it's hard too, because you're going to get in this piece of, well, you shouldn't change things, right? And well, what about the 5 p.m. class gets really upset that the 8 a.m. did something a little different, right? And again, that might be true with your culture, but it's also like, if as we start to set the tone, right, we can articulate that, and over time, members. I always say that any problems our members have is a reflection of us as owners, right? Like, it's just that simple, right? Now, changing culture is very hard, very, very hard.
It takes time.
Takes time, and I remember when we took over CrossFit Boston. That was the hardest example of changing a culture, something that we came into and had, it was really, really hard, right? No different than if, you're 10 years into a business and you decide to kind of shift a thought process or how you do things. It's not easy. And I think that's another thing we have to be mindful of, sometimes ripping the Band-Aid off isn't the best way to go about every single thing, right? The gradual low trajectory to a distant horizon might be the best approach to keep people happy, and so you don't break the car windshield by throwing boiling water on it when it's sub-zero.
The analogy.
That's a good analogy. There we go.
That's such a good point, though. And I see that all the time, where there's this disconnect with a lot of owners and a lot of coaches, where it's like, well, I don't program. I don't do the programming. I'm not interested in programming. But there's not a recognition that you still need to understand it. You still need to know how the stimulus was achieved. You still need to know, like, what a good scale would be for such and such, what the workout's supposed to feel like. And all of those things translate directly to how well you can coach on the floor, regardless of if you're interested in creating the workouts or not. And I liked being able to talk to everyone about that a little bit and help bridge the gap when people are like, owners in particular, how do I work to develop my newer coaches? How do I help them get better? They have a full-time job. They have a family. They coach 1 class a week. And one of the most simple but effective ways is just have them look at what the stimulus is, have them understand the timeline for their own class. Little things that they can dig into that really don't take a lot of time, that just increase their understanding of the workout, directly impacts how well of a class they're going to do.
Yeah. And to synthesize a lot of this too, one thing that you'll notice if you ever come to a train with Rich, or you just have to be at Mayhem and get a chance to work out with Rich, he has, in the same way that like he's amazing at the sport of CrossFit, he has this crazy ability to look at a group of people, and it doesn't matter the size, doesn't matter who shows up. Like, he doesn't stress at all. He can alter the workout. So my point about Train with Rich, the most engagement that we get is people coming up with their cameras and watching him program at the whiteboard, right? And it's second nature to him at this point. He doesn't even know it. So I think it was really cool to see. And by the way, I think that Austin did a great job of identifying this, that he probably couldn't articulate it quite as well, right? It just happens for him. Like, he's built this skill over time. So being around people like you who articulate so well, break things down, years and years of seminar, and And Austin helped us implement this. We did it at Coaches Congress. We had a presentation for Own Your Own Programming set out, and Austin was like, hey, you know what? Let's just do it live and see what happens. And so the interaction between, again, like Rich's superpower is the programming and application point. Darren is so good with people, and then Austin has all of it because of all of his years of experience. What we did instead was I can't remember if it was the VIP or the actual Own Your Own Programming, but we intentionally didn't cap it. You know, they had said this many people are allowed to come. We just yelled to the room, was like, hey, if you're here and you're interested, like jump in. And so it went automatically from 50 people to 70. It was insane, right?
Yeah.
That makes my knees knock together. I was like, I know how many people are showing up to class or at a seminar. It's like, I know that we're doing Fran at lunchtime. This is how many participants there are. We know exactly what the scales are. He was like, we're going to program this on the fly, look at the equipment that's around, and then boom, implement the workout. That's hard to do, man. And you can't do it from just reading a PDF every single week, implementing it to your members in a really static scenario. You earn those skills, you know what I mean? And so I think that, we're saying it without saying it, but yeah, with Own Your Own Programming, I think the point that we're trying to tell our community is, yes, this should be a massive asset to make your life so much easier and to implement fantastic workouts and make your coaching just absolutely next level. But if you don't put some time into at least contemplating it, thinking about it, making it your own and catering it to your clientele, you're not going to grow as a coach or, as a human if we want to, take it to the next level. So that's been really cool for me, is like, I don't want that to be lost on people, that Rich's abilities at a whiteboard are like superhuman, they're so fun to watch. But then by pairing him with Austin and Darren, and like for me as a total CrossFit junkie, like watching that in real time was really cool. And I don't want it to be lost on you two that we seldom can get Rich to sit for more than 10 minutes. And he sat through every single lecture over the weekend and was engaged and was given feedback and like was into it. And so that landed for me too, just behind the scenes of being like, okay, cool. There's something happening here.
Yeah, and really, like day one, that was the primary objective, is to get through the concept of Own Your Programming and then to actually apply it, not only as a gym owner or whoever owns the programming to make sure it fits your gym, but then to practice some of the skills for coaches, which is what Kristen and myself worked on, putting together a quick napkin timeline, we called it, and then working on your whiteboard brief. Now, one of the other big pieces of the weekend that I thought was so powerful and amazing was the additional partners that were there. So Pamela ran a gymnastics session on day one, which people like during the session were walking over to us and were like, how can I get my coaches access to this content without having to spend $1,000 for each one of my coaches to get them to a seminar? And I think there's some exciting, things that are coming down the pipe that is going to allow that to happen. And then EC on day two, talking about nutrition and same sort of deal. So tell me more about the partners that are involved in this, what their role is going to be in these in-person events going forward, and what the vision is there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You obviously summarized it as that, I think, we had Pamela there, we had, EC from Optimize Me Nutrition, obviously best hour as a cornerstone of that. And really that's just the beginning, we from a partnerships perspective, and the goal is simple, is for us to bring the best and the brightest together to share and have an opportunity. And it's not that the opportunity isn't there, but to make it easy for our community to engage, right? Where I think right now there's a lot of unbelievable knowledge out there, but it is somewhat hard to navigate for a gym owner, probably even harder for coaches, depending on if you're full-time or part-time. And, when kind of Ro and I kicked the stuff around, years ago, it was, by years ago, like over a decade ago, it was super easy that you come to CrossFit and you would be exposed to a good amount of subject matter experts, lots of them. And for whatever reason, it's been much harder to do that. And people have kind of gone their separate ways. How do we pull people in just to engage in these in-person events? And then over time, we want to be able to really deliver this in a way in which our community can engage with us on a consistent monthly, weekly basis, and then have engagement with these subject matter experts if they want. And because everyone's journey is different, right? That's something that's the big aspect of this, is you may not want to engage with EC on nutrition today for whatever reason, because maybe it's not top of mind, maybe it's not where your business needs to be, but the person to your right or left, it might be very important to them, right where their business needs to be. Same when it comes to weightlifting with the Bergners, right? Where, maybe, hey, you know what? I know how to, stand script position and hook grip and all that good stuff. Or, you know what? I think that it's time to lean into a little more of this skill because it's something I want to offer. And maybe it's another class we want to offer, whatever it might be. To you name that nothing's off the table from subject matter experts we want to bring in. We're also, we had a choice to make. And the choice was either we could just do it ourselves and tell everyone we're the best and screw everyone else, or you know what? There's some really great, smart people out there. We want to pull them in and make it really easy for them to engage with them at a deeper level. And I think that, to this question is like, what does that mean? It's like, well, right now, if you want to engage with anyone out there, you have to engage with them in a very, for lack of a better way to put it, formal way, in the sense of, hey, if I don't want to engage or go to a seminar in person, it's a really significant time expense. And it's sometimes hard to draw a clear ROI on that, right? We heard that a lot. Hey, I want to send my coaches to this seminar, that seminar, but I have 10 coaches and, I want to get them better, but what is that going to equate to versus how do we bring people together, make it easier in a way that is palatable? And, we're not going to replicate what exists, but, do we need every single person to go through shitloads of seminars and courses? Maybe not. Maybe we can distill it down in a way that can be really palatable. So that's something that this was probably just the start, and another thing that we really want to lean on is, I think Darren brought this feedback up, and I loved the feedback, was we're fortunate to have a lot of friends in the space and a lot of people that are really just unbelievable at what they do. And we just want to invite them to be there. So like when we do these, which we will do, and as a part of, sort of this new model that we create next year, like between all of us, we'll be opening up our Rolodex to invite all of our friends and people like that there. They might not have a formal capacity, but just rubbing elbows with people that are really unbelievably smart, that a 5-minute conversation could be unbelievably impactful. That's another one of our goals. Is I think Rich and Mayhem superpower is to get people together. Mayhem's an unbelievable place. And that's something, so beyond our subject matter experts, we're going to be pulling in everyone we know. Selfishly, I like to hang out with my people. I love my friends. And as you get older, as we all know, it's hard. You need like work excuses to hang out with friends for some reason, like on the regular. So I think, that's also my selfish reason of like, hey, James, get down here because I want to hang out with you.
For a work event, it's a little
fun. Work event, right? Just so happens we love what we do, and so it depends on if you call it work or play. So that's something that we'll definitely lean into, and that's the feedback. Like, what other? And we asked a lot of this. We got some great feedback. What other subject matter experts do you want there? Who is that? But I believe we're stronger together than in a fragmented ecosystem. And we at Mayhem, just simply want to be a place that can be the pot that we can bring everyone together, and it can sort of be that melting pot.
Yeah. And I don't, just to harp on what I said before, also, like it will change over time, like based on feedback. We heard a lot, for example, about marketing. Like people want to know about that. And like, I don't think that we'll sit at one of these seminars in front of a computer and work on Canva templates, but maybe an absolute gangster in marketing who can give you high level advice in terms of like be doing these things. Right. So it is not and will not be set in stone, but to Austin's point, like I don't know, you guys all know this. Once upon a time, if you wanted to find these types of resources, you were early days of the internet and you were searching far and wide, and you were probably like watching DVDs and like, that was my experience. I literally carried like a book of CDs around, one of the big ones. And I had, everything from like Pavel coaching kettlebells to, I think it's Gary Gray was like a movement expert. And then you're searching the web and I stalked K-Star for, I can't even tell you how long before he started even putting out content on a consistent basis. CrossFit Journal was a massive resource, things like that, where you had to go and you search these things far and wide. And the best people still do it, right? Like you're investing heavily in your education already. We're trying to bring all those people into one place at one time, like Austin said, and then make them a consistent resource for you as well. So yeah, I think that was well put. But again, just if we see the need, or it's expressed to us, or we identify it and we think, man, this would be a fantastic solution for that, everything's on board. Like we're trying to unite the Avengers, but that's not a finite list of people, right? There's all sorts of ways that you could benefit gyms.
So it sounds like you're saying that this isn't just going to be for people that can make it to the in-person events. Ideally, we want people at the in-person events, but there's the potential to get access to these individuals and these resources and not be at the in-person events. Is that right?
I think you'd be missing if you don't come, but that'll be a cherry on top. Okay. But hold on, Austin's wheels are spinning. I can see.
Well, no, I think obviously, like, you know, the way I look at these in-person events is that they are a catalyst and also a, you know, sort of the foundation of what we're going to be delivering in 26. And we want, you know, we went back and forth on this a lot. We definitely want everyone. We want to see everybody, honestly. And we're going to do our best to make that a reality. Now, we also, and that's why we wanted to get one in this year. We're going to have 4 of these next year, and we're going to, you know, sort of roll out the opportunity, like Rose said, bringing people together. I love that, the Avengers. That's a good analogy, because, you know, I'm a Marvel nerd at heart. And the reality is they keep adding to the cast and changing it, so it's perfect. It's never static. And you know, and our goal within the first 3 months is to roll out kind of what you were talking about. And we're still we're getting much closer to being able to put it in a box, you know, Todd, but we want to be able to engage with our community at a higher level. Right now, you think, all right, we have programming, which, you know, we've talked a good amount. And then from there, you know, how do we, and that's really the product, right? That is the actual program itself. And then as we go deeper, how do we help develop the people that deliver that product? Right. And that's really what we're going to be spending time on. And how do we deliver that in a cadence where your owner and your staff can engage on a weekly basis and a monthly basis to develop yourself and your team. And that's everything from coaching implementation to the stuff we talked about on day 2, from high level business implementation to nutrition, engaging with our subject matter experts. We're sort of unlocking the kimono too from Mayhem with our, you know, we have our MPC coaches. They were there all weekend, Mayhem performance coaches. Those are like the mega nerds behind all of like the individual programming. They're the ones that are talking about the energy pathways and all that good stuff. And, you know, and they have so much knowledge, making sure that they are in front of our community as well. So that's our goal, is to be able to engage. And then from there on, right now, a quarterly basis, those that can make it get to Mayhem, and we go even deeper, right? Creating those moments and also asking good questions. It's how we get better, right? It will push us even harder, but it's a lonely place. And this was articulated really well. It can be a lonely place as an owner, right? And it doesn't have to be, right? And so we love our community, we love our people. So how do we make sure that those that want to engage at a deeper level are able to pull up and out and hopefully inspire others, right? I think that's the key too, is it should be an abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset, right? Just like Rose said in the very beginning, that, you know, reaching out to CJ, right? If you had that scarcity mindset, CJ would have been like, kick rocks, I don't want to help you at all. Versus the abundance mindset is, no, actually, we all do better if everyone is delivering an excellent product. Right. And
there's plenty of people.
There's no shortage of people, and there's no shortage of difference of human beings. Right. So if Roy and I open up a gym, it's going to be a different gym because we're different people. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of what we do, and the beauty of CrossFit. And you guys know this better than anyone, you don't need millions of people to run a successful business either. Right. Like, in fact, there's a pretty sweet spot. Right. So, but you have to deliver an excellent product, and we have more to lose by someone going to a gym down the road and them having a poor experience. Mm-hmm. We as a whole than anything else. And so how do we combat that? Well, hopefully, and I saw that like rising tides. If the gym down the road is doing well, I want to beg, borrow, and steal from them, and I should give them that to them.
Right.
Because if they do better, the 2 or 3 degrees of connection of people they might know will help my business and my gym. You know, and we've all heard this, and it breaks my heart, right? You know, oh yeah, I went to a gym, you know, a couple of years ago, and I had a really shitty experience. So I'm we're not going to go anymore, whatever it is. And that's an all too often statement. And that to me is the ultimate goal of success.
Sorry, and I don't want to say that it's systemic, but I think that it shifted in a lot of, or I hear that it shifted in a lot of ways at some point, and I don't know where that line in the sand was. So like when I'm talking about CJ, I'm talking about 2008, right? 2007, 2008, where that togetherness, like, and I get it, like you got a competitor across town, like it's maybe harder to embrace that these days. But maybe we can be the connective tissue that helps with that. And then Austin, Todd, sorry, I don't want to steal your job here, but there's a couple of comments that came through that I think that we could address directly.
You can't take the broadcaster out of row, he just,
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, just because they're really specific and helpful. Rich Froning's in the room, just for everyone too.
Oh, there he is. Are we gonna get a smile and a wave?
Can you come wave to the best hour crew?
Everyone's just waiting in anticipation.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Rich?
He can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
all right. Oh, actually, get away from me. You were sick. You just made me
I was going
sick.
to say, look great.
Yep.
So Rich, I've never heard this in my life, and I promise I'll get back. Vincent, I'm coming to you comment-wise. I've never heard of, it made me feel so weak as a person. When Rich Froning gets sick, he just does like one less workout in a day. This is the first time I've ever heard of him actually like staying in bed all day. Is that a true story? Okay, it's not a true story, but it made me feel better about myself.
Well,
I'm in my mind, I'm sticking
run with that.
Legend, let the legend live, Yeah.
I shouldn't have asked him.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vincent asked, okay, so actually his comment was after his level 2, and he said, thanks, Kristen. So you must have saw his level 2.
Yeah.
He was wanting more.
Charleston,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And he wanted more feedback and resources to get better at coaching. But all he found is this in YouTube. I imagine he means the best hour, or maybe this partnership that we're working on.
I think this podcast in particular, he's a regular listener.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and I think that we voiced that during the seminar, and maybe Austin, you could speak to it, but yes, that's exactly right. Like these level 1, level 2, and the level 3 test is a bit different, but like the pragmatism of the level 1 and level 2, like we love it. We all have been a part of it for a long time. We think it's super valuable, but exactly what he's saying is like, then what? I've got this super impactful 2-day seminar where I just drink from a fire hose, learn a ton, and I go implement it to the best of my ability. But where are the resources that I can kind of lean into as I'm going through that process? Or what if I forget what Kristen said in that lecture, or my notes weren't as complete as I wanted them to be? This provides that kind of ongoing access and ability to lean into resources and take that experience that took me to here and keep growing over time to here, right? So maybe Austin, can you build on that, just because you speak to it really well about supplementing those resources?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, you look at the level 1, the level 2, and you look at those are really important guideposts. And the longer I'm in the ecosystem, I look at those as like sort of required summer reading, basically, right? And what I mean by that is like you just have, like, they're really important. I get the question all day: should I go to my level 1? Yeah, I think any human being was going to learn really good info at your level 1. The level 2 is a feedback course. Mm-hmm. It's and this is what the people forget about the course, is that anyone can go to that course and you learn two really important skills: how to receive feedback, very important as a human being, and then also you start to learn how to deliver it. Yes, there are you learn how to do that coaching specific, but those are sort of the overarching themes. And when we even built this past weekend, we thought through, we expected a common vernacular that, hey, with that understanding that you've almost been through those courses. But other than that, it's really hard to connect the dots in between. What is your path and what is your journey? And if I asked anyone that after their level 1 right now, or even after level 2, what's next for you from an educational perspective? Oftentimes you get glassy-eyed and questions of, I don't know. And many people out there have looked to fill in the gaps in different ways: best hour, other people, one-on-ones, all these things. And our goal is to make that super clear. And when Fern and I spent, I think you were in the room for part of it, Ro. Like, I think we just spent, we locked ourselves in a room a couple of weeks ago, like 5 to 6 hours walking through that. Like, how do we make it super easy and clear for a coach out of their level 1 to have a clear pathway. Same for the owner. And also based off your goals, whether it's full-time or part-time or a couple classes, or I want to run a successful business where I can, as it's dubbed with Best Hour, be the gym mayor. And what's the pathway to get there? And so that's exactly what we're looking to achieve. And that's something that and I think so. It's like, is it long overdue? Absolutely. And that's also why we wanted to partner. That's why we want to pull everyone together, because it's not easy to do. And we get the questions all the time. It should be very clear and easy for someone to know, all right, what does this mean for me after I get my level 1? And what does this look like? And then from there, we need to work with owners and to make it financially clear, right? Because the simple expression of this is, why do you go to school, right? Why do you go to college? Why do you get your master's or PhD? For opportunity. Whatever that might look like to you at the end state. Opportunity might be financial, it might be impact, whatever it might be, but opportunity. And so we need to make sure we have that pathway for our coaches too, creating that opportunity. So that's the net of that, and I think, and so like to this question is, what's the price of the in-person events? Going forward, when we think about where we want to be in 26, it's the in-person events are going to be a part of something bigger that you are engaging on a monthly basis. So and it will be exclusive to the Mayhem gyms and their coaching staff. Yes. And then if you are a part of this, higher level of interaction we're going to be leaning towards, it'll be a part of that actually. So the in-person events will be a complement to the consistent weekly and monthly education, so we can engage at that deeper level. And part of this too is to make sure that we have the ability to speak a common language. That's really important, right? So when we talk about Mayhem programming, we're able to get really collaborative and, get some feedback. And there's one good example of a workout that sent everyone into this, a tizzy about something, the time or whatever. So we were able to riff on that, and it was a good own your programming conversation. So that is an important piece of foundational expectation.
Love it. Yep. So sounds like we're trying to fill the gaps between the level 1, the level 2, the level 3, the level 4, like everything in between. Because to your point, you can go and get really inspired and get a bunch of great tools, but then what's next? And so getting some additional resources and feedback and tools for in between. And I think to your point, and this question comes up, Melissa talking about considering the L3, like all of these courses and certifications, the L3, the L4, which are tests and certifications, there is so much value in continuing your education. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday on a call that was starting the process of considering the level 3, and he was a little uncertain based on just what's going on with all the static with CrossFit HQ. And I was like, regardless of what happens with them, like the work that you put in and the time that you spend studying for that test is going to benefit your business and your coaching and your career regardless. So these courses continue to be great. So yeah, we definitely recommend continuing down that path. And there's a ton of value. Like Melissa, the study material for the level 3 is gold. Dive into that stuff, whether you want to take the test or not. I would encourage you to dive into that material, and then, I definitely would push you towards taking the test for sure.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, and I'll add to that by saying, she says, is it worth it or is it valuable?
Yeah.
Look, man, if there's a consumer who is educated enough to be like, hey, I want the best coach in the area. Unfortunately, not everybody does, right? Like their buddy tells them about the CrossFit down the street or whatever. But if somebody is looking and they see that delineation of you versus a coach down the street who's level 1, my hope would be that, yes, it's still got meaning in that sense. It certainly does, like these guys said, for your personal development, the actual product you can deliver, your knowledge, et cetera. We also, our hope, and this was from participants who came to the event, we want folks who are involved in what we're creating to have that same ability to show that they're a cut above because they're associated with what we're doing. In other words, yeah, I've got an L3 next to my name. It means that I've invested personally. I think that if you've got this delineation of that you're involved with what we're doing, it shows that you're consistently invested in making your business better, making your product better, making your coaches better. And that was something I don't want us to gloss over either, was a big theme throughout the weekend with these coaches was, man, I'm doing all these things. I'm investing heavily. I'm working on getting better at programming, implementation, all the things, even with my business. But how do I transmit that? We talk about transmission of culture all the time in CrossFit. How do I help that to permeate to my entire staff? Like, how do I bring up, we talk about rising tides. How do I do that within my gym? Like, rise those tides. So, just to button that up, I guess the thought is our hope and our mission is that, we're going to provide the products to where you're going to be educating yourself, staying motivated, connecting with other gyms, to where you are definitively, without a doubt, if you've got this mark of, Mayhem Gym, you are a cut above, right? So when people are shopping and they're thinking about their first experience at a CrossFit gym, if they're in their area and they see like, wow, these guys are really putting a lot of time into this, and I'm not just going to get any old experience, it's got a seal of approval, so to speak. That'll be an added benefit to folks who want to invest the time into this.
Yeah. And I like to always bring the reality to because I'm sure the contrarians out there is like, yeah, you can have zero education in the world and be the best coach.
Yep.
You could also have a level 4 and be a shithead, right? Like it's the now but right with that, and that's the case, right? And I think I think the key here is, in some of these cases, what's your goal? And if you're an owner, right? So I'll just speak for me personally. When I was running my gyms, I had to do whatever I expected of my staff, right? I'm never going to ask my staff something. So, I had to make sure that I had my level 3. I had to make sure that if, I got my level 4, and part of that too is, and I'll be honest with you guys, I made my whole staff get their level 3. I did not expect them to be a better coach after that. I already expected them to be a great coach. It was just a way in which of a milestone, right? And it was also a way for me to expect growth, right? Where, because it's a test, you got to study, you have to lean into it. I had many coaches that took the test and failed. It did not change my opinion on them at all.
Right.
In fact, I respected them more for taking it, and I honestly cared less about the result. Like Rory said, in our field, unfortunately, your credentials do not get new members; they keep them. And why? Because if you have more, in theory, the assumption is you're probably better at delivering the product, which helps you retain them, right? So I think that, but no one is looking on the website and be like, oh, Rory has a level 4. I'm going there, right? What they're looking at is, oh, there's a 6 a.m. class. It's a 2 mile down the road, and by the way, they have a nice bathroom, right? Like honestly, and you responded to my email within 30 seconds, right? That's what's going to get them in the door. The efficacy of the product on the floor and how good you are and how much you care will keep them there. So. I think we had to be really honest with ourselves on that, right? And that's something that yes, an educated consumer, but we are now, I think, past that piece of like people, they're looking for ease, they're looking for you have to teach them the things that matter, and via sort of just osmosis too. You can't shove it down their throat when they walk in the gym either. It's like, they probably don't care about the what is fitness lecture on their first day, right? They just want to
so afraid just walking in the door. They can't even understand or hear what you're saying if you try to deliver that content, right?
Oh man, I blew that so many times. All right, let me teach you about variance, functionality, intensity, and work capacity across broad time and modal domains, because you know what? You have to eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. And of course, it's like they look at you cross-eyed and they either, so we got a bunch of maniac early adopters, right? Is basically what that was. Sign me up, right? Where the normal person's like,
what is happening?
Can I just work well?
Yeah, why am I here? Am I doing this right? Should I be here?
Yeah, like I gotta go pick up my kid, I'm just gonna work out and leave, and then over time you kind of teach them the cool stuff about the stuff that differentiates us.
Yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. Obviously, the first event was amazing, a lot of fun. We were all kind of feeling our way through it, so I'm excited to see the development and the growth in the event and just in the product and the interaction that we're going to be able to have. So for people that want to get involved? Step one, where do they start, Austin?
Well, step one is, like I said before, sign up to try out the Mayhem program, become a Mayhem gym that way, and I think, right now is a really good time because we are, and some of the comments here, spending a lot of time at improving and adding more value. We've just brought on, the NC Fit gyms, which is super exciting as well. So like our community is growing. So come join and lean in, and we're very open to feedback. And obviously we can't change everything all the time right away, but in order to engage with us at a higher level early on next year, it will be through our community. So if you want to lean in, join, try it out. And, Rory, myself, Christy, Darren, the whole team, and the door is always open at Mayhem. If you just are passing through Cookeville, of course, we'd love to have you. But those are the best ways. But, we are all in. We care about you guys. And honestly, like, I know it's nerdy, but just we love this shit and we want to keep digging in. So if you want to lean in, we're here for you. We'll make, and more in the best hour crew as well, which is a bunch of studs as well. So that's the best way.
Yeah. I think that I love what you ended on too. A lot of times, look, we're promoting this and it sounds like marketing, but everybody on this call for almost 2 decades. I can say that for myself, at least. Like, we've invested a lot of time and energy and effort into this. And like, so yes, we're running a business and yes, we're selling a product, but I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that this is what we've been working on for 20 years, is really investing into this community. Like, we've chosen not to go anywhere. Like, maybe we've moved seats and we've gone to different places where we thought it was best that we could serve this community. But, yeah, really and truly, there's no snake oil here. Like, we're pulling together a very, very strong group of people that we think, and we very truly think that, like, with our combined efforts and what we've learned over the years, we're putting something together that is going to be an incredible service to people who choose to engage with it. And yes, we'll ask you to pay for it because it is a business, but we think that the value is over and above what you'll receive from that. And really and truly, we're very open to feedback, very dedicated to making it better on a consistent basis. And it's from a place of love and really legacy. Like, we've dedicated our lives to this. At this point, we can say dedicated our lives to this, right? Like, I've almost been involved with CrossFit longer than for half of my life.
Yep.
And so, yeah, if you want to poke holes, go for it. But I can tell you, very authentically that this is a passion and this is something that our hearts are behind. So we hope that you guys will find a lot of value in it as well. And if you don't, that's fine too.
MayhemNation.com is where you go. You guys can see the link on the screen. Last thing I'll ask, any idea on when it'll be launched, on what engaging at a greater level will happen? Any idea? I know it's early next year, Q1. Is that it? Are you hoping?
Yeah. I mean, putting our feet to the fire, I really would love this to be something, honestly, like by the end of January, we'll have a box ready to talk about and articulate. By March, we'll be ready to rock and roll. By February, those maniacs, that early adopters, should be ready to kind of lean in with us. So yeah, like by end of Q1, like it should be clear as day and ready to ride. But we are pushing really hard to button this up and make it super clear, because that's obviously the work that needs to be done and the questions that are being asked. But with what we did a couple weeks ago and with where we're going, I feel really confident that we can add some value and have something pretty special. And at the very least, be able to kind of talk about the bullets by end of January.
Hell yeah. Nice. Beyond mayhemnation.com, where else can they go to get more information?
I mean, info at mayhemnation.com is the catch-all. Myself, Christy, and our team are answering those on a consistent basis. Instagram is pretty hard to keep up with, so there'll be lots of stuff thrown at you, but maybe the not the greatest place to engage. But definitely, if you're not following our channels, like, we're releasing stuff on a consistent basis. But yeah, I'd say the website, or email us directly, man. Like, I've seen a lot of chatter in the space and people speculating and questions of their own. I'm like, I'll reach out to them directly. I'm like, hey man, why don't you just hit me up and I got all the answers you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, hit us up if you have a question. Like, that's what we're here for. Yeah.
Love it.
Really
awesome.
Cool.
Well,
thank you guys.
Appreciate you guys. looking forward to continuing to work together and hopefully having you guys back on before long. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. Now, if you're a coach who wants to coach more effectively, impact your members, and advance your career, then the Knowledge Pro is the next step. Inside, you'll get hundreds of coaching videos, weekly calls with level 4 coaches, and direct feedback on your coaching. From homework reviews to full class breakdowns, we do it all. This is the best way to grow as a coach and take your skills to the next level. Now you can join the Knowledge Pro at besthouroftheirday.com/the-knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Now keep coaching, keep improving, and we'll see you next time.